Hello, my name is M.K. Reddy, and in this video, we'll be discussing about President of India, as you could see on the screen, President of India, and his powers and position. His powers and position. We'll be discussing most about his position, whether he is a really rubber stamp, figurehead, or does he have any real powers at all. And we will see various aspects relating to the President of India. We all know that in UPSC, prelims, mains, interview, and in general also. General also, President of India is one of the most important topics. So we will try to analyze in this video the various aspects with respect to the power and position of the president. We will see, as you could see on the screen, all these are the presidents. The current president, 15th president of India, Drupadi Murmu. All the previous presidents, starting from Rajendra Prasad, Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, Zakir Hussain, V.V. Giri, Neelam Sanjeev Reddy, Fakhruddin Ali, and Jail Singh, Venkataraman, Shankar Dayal Sharma, K.R. Narayanan, APJ Abdul Kalam, Pratibha Patel, Pranab Mukherjee, and most importantly, Ramnath Kovind, the previous president, and the present president, Drupadi Murmu. All these presidents, particularly till Ramnath Kovind, we can assess how they worked and how they discharge their functions. So we'll see who among these presidents who were so much restrained while discharging their duties, and who were assertive, who were active in discharging their functions and responsibilities as the head of the state. Now we will try to analyze power and position of the President of India. To do this, to understand this, we will go through some interpretations. How does the Constitution, what does Constitution of India say about powers and position of Indian President? And we will also analyze what does Judiciary, that is Supreme Court or Judiciary, say about power and position of Indian President. And we will also see Constituent Assembly perspective, the makers of the Constitution, which is Constituent Assembly. What was the thought process behind, the powers were given to the President of India? And also, the most important aspect of this video is actual working of presidents over 7 decades. First, we will try to understand the constitutional perspective, or as per Constitution, what is the position and powers of the President of India. Article 53, Article 74, and Article 75. These three help us to understand the constitutional perspective of Indian President. Article 53 says about the Union executive powers. Union executive powers will be with the head of the state, that is President. And Article 74 says about there will be a Council of Ministers to aid and advise the President of India, and will be acting upon aid and advice provided by the Council of Ministers. And Article 75, Clause 3 says about Council of Ministers are collectively responsible to the House of People, that is Lok Sabha. So the responsibility of the government is in the Council of Ministers, and the President do not have any kind of special responsibilities with respect to the Parliament or any other thing. He is supposed to safeguard Constitution. So the real powers are with whom? Council of Ministers. We all know that whenever there is a need of interpretation with regard to any provision of the Constitution, so there is a judiciary to interpret the Constitution. So we will see the position of the President of India as per the judiciary. What the judiciary say about President of India and his office. So as per the judiciary of India, that is Supreme Court, as per Supreme Court in its various cases, judgments, pronounced that Indian President is what? Nominal head. Indian President is what? Nominal head. And Supreme Court also gives clarity why is a nominal head. Supreme Court says that since India adopted a parliamentary system, in general, in parliamentary systems, President is vested with what? Nominal powers. The real powers are with Council of Ministers or with the Parliament. So in India's case also, because of parliamentary system that we adopted, the position of the president as per judiciary is nominal. It is what? Nominal, and not, it does not have any real powers. So as per judiciary, it is clear that President of India is what? Acts upon the advice provided by the Council of Ministers. So far, we understood the perspective of Constitution and also the judicial interpretation of powers and position of the President of India. Now we will try to understand the thought process of Constituent Assembly while drafting the Constitution. So what were they thinking about? So we all know that the Constituent Assembly is pretty much sure, confident about India would be a parliamentary system of government. In parliamentary system of government in general, there will be two types of executives: real executive and nominal executive. Nominal executive is called as the head of the state. In UK's case, it is called as what? Queen or king. It is hereditary in India's case. So same, the head of the state is called as a president, and he is not indirectly elected. And real head in India is prime minister, same as in UK. Prime minister, there will be a council of ministers, and there will be a cabinet consisting of 15 ministers, and who would be headed by the prime minister. So this council of ministers, cabinet, prime minister will be vested with what? Real powers in the government in the country. This is the thought process of Constituent Assembly. And there was a debate in the Constituent Assembly whether whether we should adopt the similar provisions that are there in the United Kingdom, or we should give any real powers to the President of India. There are some debates. There are what? Some debates in the Constituent Assembly between some towering personalities, between Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So we'll try to see as you could see on the screen, B.R. Ambedkar, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, they had some arguments with respect to the powers and position of the President of India. As per B.R. Ambedkar, since we adopted a parliamentary system of government, so it is just like identical to the queen or king position, the President of India's office. So it does not stress so much on giving powers to the President of India, real powers, whereas Dr. Rajendra Prasad, the President of the Constituent Assembly, he said, how can you compare the President of India's office with the office of the Queens of England? Why? Because we all know that the Queen or King, the heads of the Britain, are hereditary. It is a monarchical. Whereas India, Dr. Rajendra Prasad says India is what? Republic, which means is elected. So we should not compare at all. So however, after so much of thought process, it was clear that in independent India there will be what? Republic, and the President of India, as mentioned in the 74th article, will be acting upon the aid and advice as mentioned in the original constitution. So this is the thought process of Constituent Assembly. The President of India will not have any real powers, so he will act upon the advice tendered by the Council of Ministers. So far, we have seen the constitutional position, and most importantly, and we also saw the judiciary interpretation of the powers, and also Constituent Assembly. And we will see in reality how this 14 presidents, the present president is 15th President of India, Draupadi Murmu, and how these 14 presidents worked, discharged their duties. By tracing, by understanding their work, we can say, we can analyze whether they enjoyed any real powers or not. So as you could see on the screen, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, first President of India, and is the only president who got elected twice indirectly. We all know that presidential elections are indirect. These MPs of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, elected MPs, and most importantly, member of legislative assemblies of states participate in the elections of whom? President elections. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, we all know that, is a towering personality, very influential personality. After becoming president, India's first president, in second term also, he was so much assertive. He was so much critical about the actions of the government. He didn't step back to criticize the government. He appreciated the government, and most importantly, he went to foreign tours to build the image of India. So Dr. Rajendra Prasad, to some extent, made his office, that President of India's office, felt with his excellence. So the President of India, the very first President, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, to some extent, we could say, was exercised some sort of powers. However, he discharged his duties and responsibilities as the head of the state as exactly what Council of Ministers, Cabinet, Prime Minister said so. And we will see the president during the emergency, Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed, was fifth president of India. As you could see on the screen, during emergency, he was the president of India. Many people, scholars, experts criticized Fakhruddin Ali, the president of India. Why? Because then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, clearly violated provisions of the Constitution, took her position for advantage and granted, and she imposed president rule with help of President consent, and President acted upon what Indira Gandhi said so. So he should ask the Prime Minister to take the consent of the Council of Ministers, Cabinet, and their approval, Parliament's approval, before imposing the emergency in 1975. So he is so much criticized, and it is also called as injudicious. But the actions of the Fakhruddin Ali, the President Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed, are called as injudicious because of his one of the responsibility is safeguarding the Constitution. Since he failed, that is why so much criticized. So the Fakhruddin Ali office, so many people felt that overridden by the dominance of the Prime Minister. So he is called as the Prime Minister's President. Since 1950, all the presidents, were having harmonic relationship with the Prime Minister, the government. However, there was one president, and he's called as seventh President of India, Gyani Jail Singh. He was so critical. Jail Singh was so critical because of some reasons, and we will see what are they. First and foremost is he was not informed by the then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. Didn't inform what's happening in the Parliament. So, since as per the Constitution, President of India is empowered to know what's happening in the Parliament. So they didn't. This Rajiv Gandhi government didn't oblige to the constitutional mandate. Mandate that it is the duty of the Prime Minister to inform the policies and governmental actions to the President. And most importantly, the Rajiv Gandhi government sent a postal bill, and it was not signed by the Gyani Jail Singh, seventh President of India. And he said, after completion of his term, that it is a violation of freedom. So this postal bill is trying to secure and will oversee the parcels due to security concerns. And during his tenure, during the tenure of Jail Singh, we all know that Operation Blue Star happened, and Sikh riots happened, and assassination of Indira Gandhi. All this thing happened, and Rajiv Gandhi became Prime Minister. And Rajiv Gandhi and Jail Singh, seventh President of India, didn't have any harmonic relationship. And there is one famous scientist, political scientist, law expert, Granville Austin. He termed the relationship between seventh President Gyani Jail Singh and Rajiv Gandhi, the Prime Minister. This their bonding a relationship is like a water and oil. So there was no any kind of harmony between the the working of the Prime Minister and president offices during 1980s, 1982 to 87. And we can also understand the powers that president enjoys and his capabilities and his potentialities during the tenure of Dr. Shankar Dayal Sharma. So as you could see on the screen, during his tenure, 9th President of India is Shankar Dayal Sharma. During his tenure, 92 to 97, Shankar Dayal Sharma, for majority of his tenure, first 4 years, he was so much silent as a president. He acted upon what Council of Ministers said so. So we should keep this thing in mind. During this period, 1989 to 1999, there was hung parliament. Hung parliament means when there is no single party with majority to form the government is called hung parliament. So since there was no majority, so there was a need for the president. There was a circumstances. There is a demand for the president to act more assertively, more actively. So Dr. Shankar Dayal Sharma, during his last year, in 1996, there was a bill passed by the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government, which it's not a bill, it's an ordinance. There was an ordinance passed by then government, and it is extending reservation to the scheduled caste communities. So, and most importantly, other provisions, other ordinances about shortening, the period of election campaign. So, these were just before the parliamentary elections. One is extending scheduled caste, caste, extending the reservation for scheduled caste communities, and most importantly, election campaign. These two, just because of keeping near elections, he didn't sign. So Dr. Shankar Dayal Sharma was so much assertive, and since he didn't sign, so his office was also felt. And here comes the 10th President of India. During his tenure, K.R. Narayanan, before entering his office, or after, he clearly said that he will not be like a rubber stamp, and he will be what? More active president, proactive president. So he proved that with his actions, his actions made to believers to understand that whatever he said, he followed that. So we will see various instances that prove that whatever he said, he followed. First and foremost is 1998 Janata government at center, at union level, sent orders, proposal to impose presidential rule through Article 356 in Uttar Pradesh. This K.R. Narayanan resent for reconsideration. Sent that orders or proposal for reconsideration, and he said that that UP government was democratically elected and it was not warned. So he used his office, and constitution empowers with a president to do this kind of things. And later on, we all know that this proposal was withdrawn by the government. So because there was clearly majority in the Uttar Pradesh, but there are some disturbances. But there was clearly democratic government, democratically elected government was properly having full majority. So, and other instance which happened in 2000, when USA President Clinton visited India. During this dialogue between President of India and USA President, he went behind the material provided by the cabinet. So his remarks, one of them is about this globalization and USA being the head. So there were some kind of remarks made by the K.R. Narayanan, which hit hard the USA President. He said many good things, but this thing that USA heading the globalization and all this aspect. So this led to the worsening relationship between it worsened to some extent relationship between the India and USA. So and there was one more incident in 1999. Atal Bihari Vajpayee government clearly had the majority. Despite having the majority, he was asked to prove his majority in the Lok Sabha. So this kind of these three instances, we can say that he was so much assertive, he was so much proactive, and he was so much active president. And many scholars and legal experts criticized to some extent the actions and intentions of the K.R. Narayanan, and some praised, some criticized, and some praised. So the K.R. Narayanan is the president, so who expressively. So K.R. Narayanan office was so much understandable that President of India's office is not mere figure office, or the president is not just a rubber stamp, and so it is you can sense that K.R. Narayanan is one of the influential presidents on the office of the President of India. And here comes the Pranab Mukherjee, 13th President of India. During his tenure, Pranab Mukherjee criticized Narendra Modi government on occasions and praised Narendra Modi government, criticized government and praised Narendra Modi government. So it also proves that president. And there was one more thing. There was a Pranab Mukherjee returned or rejected some mercy petitions, and those were duly executed. So this is one of the assertiveness that Pranab Mukherjee, during his office, he exercised this. But it is, with the help of the council of ministers only, he didn't act on his own. So this mercy petitions, all these are the advices of the council of ministers. So he acted upon the advice provided by the cabinet. And we will also see one more instance of president's activeness during the tenure of Abdul Kalam from 2000 to 2007. There was a bill sent by the parliament, and it is called as the Office of Profit, as you could see on the screen. So he sent it for reconsideration to the parliament, and after reconsideration, the cabinet, without making any amendments, without making any changes, sent back to the president's office, and he duly signed. So this also, Kalam also to some extent made that his office, that he exercised his office, because there is a provision that president can resend for reconsideration. So Kalam activeness can also understand that presidents has to do something with the protecting the constitution. So we can conclude that the activeness or assertiveness of the presidents of India with the what Venkataraman, the 8th president of India, said so. He notably, Venkataraman said, the office of the president of India is like an emergency light. It will be on whenever there is a crisis or whenever there is an emergency, and it will be what? Off whenever this emergency fades away and normalcy returns. So as you could see on the screen, Venkataraman famously said, so whenever there is an emergency, this the president will become more active, more assertive. During normal times, ain't so. So the presidents that we saw, like Shankar Dayal Sharma, and most importantly, K.R. Narayanan, during the tenure, they were so much assertive because of the weak government also, hung parliament also. And presidents like APJ Abdul Kalam, they also to some extent were assertive. But we can say that, we can conclude that among all the presidents, presidents like Jail Singh and presidents like K.R. Narayan, Shankar Dayal Sharma were so much asset during their tenure as a president of India. So we can clearly say that President of India is not a rubber stamp, and he does enjoy, depending on the circumstances, depending on the time and hour. So we all know that if there is no emergency, if there is a no majority, the weak government is at the center, the office of the president becomes crucial. So this president office, can conclude that is not just a figured office. The president is not just a rubber stamp. He does enjoy some constitutional powers. So it is clear that from the work experience of this 14 presidents of India, that president, if he would like to assert, he can be active and he can be proactive and he can keep the government in check and to safeguard the constitution and spirit of the constitution. He can criticize the government, he can praise the government, he can resent for consideration of the ordinances and bills, ordinary bills. And most importantly, the president's office is so important nowadays because ever since 2014, we all know that Narendra Modi government got full majority. And most importantly, 2019 elections also, Narendra Modi government got majority. So whenever there is a majority, there is a chances of becoming authoritarian. So it is very essential to safeguard democracy, to safeguard constitution. So the president has to be more active than ever. And we can conclude this by saying that presidents over the years proved that president and his office is very important. And one more thing that I would like to mention here, that the harmony between the office of the president and the office of the prime minister would define the kind of the political affairs that we have, because all the actions of the union are executed in the name of what? President of India. So I hope this video is helpful for you, and thank you.